live, ladies and gentlemen.
Getting live with it.
Ooh.
Getting live with it.
Ooh,
Happy Wednesday,
Happy
Jack.
Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, Jay Smooth. How have you been, brother? What's new with you, pal?
I've been pretty good, man. Just, working on the show, getting some things done.
Booting and scooting, baby.
As the kids like to say, same shit, different toilet.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Same fight, different round, right? Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Welcome to Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show. As always, my name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We have an awesome show for you guys. I've really been looking forward to this one for quite some time. For those of you who have never been to Hawkwind's Radio Picture Show before, welcome. We are a show by Chicagoans, for Chicago arts, entertainment, media, music, a little bit of everything. This episode, I've been waiting for a very, very long time. This young man who's about to be on our show, I have been a big fan of his for quite some time. I've been following him around Chicago, too, well before he got the well-known position that he's in right now. My new friend, we're friends now. My new friend is a singer. He works a lot in the Chicago theater scene. He is a puppeteer. And also, some of you may know him as Imp, who was one of the spawn of Svengoolie, which was a nationwide hunt to expand the Svengoolie universe. So for all of you horror fans here in Chicago, we got the guy for you. Everybody, please welcome to the show. It's a sincere, amazing opportunity to say this. Welcome to the show, Mr. Scott Gryder.
Thank you.
Hello, man.
Thank you. Am I live? Can you
are
see me?
live.
This is very exciting stuff. I'm just glad that you said that I'm young. So, yes, we can be friends. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Gryder. Hello. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Pleasure to have you, man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We just have so many questions for you, but I guess to start off, for those who have never heard of Scott Gryder before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, if you haven't heard about Scott Gryder, unsubscribe. I'm done with you. I'm so done with you.
Done.
No, I originally from Texas, although I just celebrated my 20th anniversary here in Chicago.
Hey!
Yeah, bada bing boom. And actually, I don't know, can you see the tattoo? Can you see the
Oh, your
little bit of it?
logo.
Yeah, so I got the Chicago flag for that. And then it's got the
Officially.
Lone Star there because of that's the Texas, because my heart still is in Texas with my family. So yeah, that blend. But love Chicago is home. Love Chicago. Moved here straight out of college. Actually didn't know much about Chicago. It was recommended by a singer friend of mine back in Texas. Came up for my spring break, and I'd taken the train from Dallas, the Amtrak, and I walked out of Union Station and looked up at the sky and was like, this is where I'm going to live. Like, I opened my little flip phone and I was like, doot, doot, sorry, Mom, I'm moving to Chicago.
Hell yeah.
And I just kind of hit the ground running. At that time, I can say it. Someone's going to do the math. 20 years ago, there was so much theater. I mean, 200, 250 storefront theaters. So you could just walk and audition, and there was so much work to be had. It was amazing. It was such a lush time to be in Chicago. And even from when I started, there were so many open mics here in Chicago, like piano bars, like legit, like the standard that happened in Chicago. So much of that. And I was hopping from all those venues as well and just making connections. It just felt like I was in the zone and I was where I was supposed to be. Most people, you think, I'm going to go be a theater star and I'm going to go to New York. And I'd been to New York and I was like, that's nice. I like that. I like the fast pace. And I lived in New York for a short spell later on in my career, but Chicago has always felt like home. So.
That's awesome. I think that's such a beautiful thing, especially, you see people, I see a lot of folks from Texas coming up to come and be performers. Chicago is just definitely one of those scenes to really sharpen your teeth, really, really get into the mix of it. I always like to say Chicago is really like, you could be a medium-sized fish in a Great Lake instead of, being in an ocean of New York or California.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, you could definitely make a big splash.
And that Midwestern sensibility, there's something that it transferred from like my Texas Southern, you know what I mean? That sort of warm welcome. That actually happens in Chicago too.
It's that Midwestern hospitality, man. The same as the Texas hospitality.
Yeah.
Southern hospitality.
Major city, small town feel.
Exactly.
there you go.
I love it. Yeah.
Now, tell us more about the spawn of Svengoolie. When did you first hear about Svengoolie? Have you always been a fan? And, what was that process like to finally become a part of it?
It's an interesting way that I found Svengoolie. I joined a cast of a children's television show called Green Screen Adventures that was also at Weigel Broadcasting. in like 2011, I guess. And I saw Rich Sanguli around the studio. Like he was just another guy who worked there, and like I knew he was Svengoolie, but I wasn't watching the show. And not being from Chicago, I didn't grow up watching it. I mean, I had friends that I'd met that were like, "Oh yeah, Svengoolie's great. It's it's an institution here in Chicago." But for me, he was a friend to start, and not a coworker. You know what I mean? Not like on in the cast together. Yeah. But I was doing the children's television show there, and I did that for like I don't know till like 2015, 16, till the station was ready to send it into reruns. And that's when I went off to New York, and then I did some things there, and then I came back, and then I landed my current job with the opera company, which has been incredible to have. I'm director of operations for the second largest opera company in Chicago, Chicago Opera Theater, and I've been with them off and on. It's just incredible because I've been able to be in the arts, and to have a box office job that's full-time is just unheard of in this city. So thank you, Chicago Opera Theater. And they're super flexible. So like when I told them that I landed Svengoolie, they were like, yeah, just take whatever time you need to go do the show. What?
Nice.
I mean, what job? What? Yeah, what boss says that?
Amazing.
So, and I don't even know if they even watch me. Although they did buy the comic book. I've seen the comic book in the office.
Nice.
And I do have a coworker who I showed up and she was wearing my Imp shirt.
Hell
Yeah, it was very great. I actually didn't even notice. And then we were like doing lunch, and she's like, and I was like, oh, yeah, thanks for supporting the show. So my start with Svengoolie was Rich, and it was like super casual, and it wasn't until I guess it was October 2022 is when they were looking for this, like when they released the national casting announcement that they were looking for the spawn of Svengoolie. And I'd heard that, actually I was at a piano bar, cabaret, and someone came up to me and was like, so did you hear about the Svengoolie thing? And I was like, no, I hadn't heard. And they were like, check the app, they're looking for auditions. And I was like, what? To be on Svengoolie? So I submitted an audition that night. I went home. It was like the cue was, why should you be a spawn of Svengoolie? Why would you be on the show? And I was just like instantly like, chicken spot. And of course I did actually already have rubber chickens at home. It just felt right. And it was like a literal year-long audition process. So we submitted in October. I didn't hear from anyone until after the new year. There were like some Zoom auditions. And the beautiful thing, and it's been this way the entire time, we get to have so much creative freedom on this show. We write our own scripts. We get to design our own props. The music, although we're using a catalog of like background music, we get to write our own lyrics. There's almost we're almost never told no.
That's awesome.
Like I just saw a show downtown last night, and one of the characters played a tuba, and now I'm going to ask for a tuba because I want to play a tuba, and I can't imagine they're going to say no. You better not say no. I don't. It's just so much fun, and so. During the entire audition process, they let us bring whatever we wanted to bring. Like, who are you? What's your character? Tell us what you want. Instead of telling us, this is the character we're looking to fill. Which I think is why, when they landed on the three of us, Gwengoolie, Nasty, and me, it's almost as if we fit naturally the tropes of a television cast. You know what I mean? You've got the pesky little sidekick. You've got the goofy, and then you've got the bombshell. It just seemed like all of it just came together very organically because they didn't tell us what to bring. It was whatever we submitted from the start, and then they encouraged those characters and gave us feedback. One thing I love is that when I did that audition process went all the way through basically September of the next year. So it was almost an entire year of auditioning before they said, yes, you're a part of the show. When the casting director said, yes, they'd like to keep you, and they really want you to use that voice. And I was like, what voice? Your character voice. And I'm like, no, that's just my voice. I'm not putting on a voice. This is actually what I sound like all the time. Yeah, and I was like, okay, great. So yeah, it was a whole year-long audition process. And then they put us through the ringer for a whole year after that, writing scripts, coming up with material, rehearsing, and producing movies like that would never be seen by an audience, just so we had an entire year under our belt of hosting a horror show.
Wow.
And then that bonanza after that is when they actually started releasing our content.
Oh, shit.
So it was like a 2-year investment of audition and training before they even put us on television with our own episodes. Yeah.
That's cool because it's like you said, it's such a major institution, especially here in Chicago. You know, you really want to make sure you got the right people, and it sounds like they got them. You know, congratulations on the job. That's so incredible.
Thanks, but it's a gamble because he's so beloved. It was a matter of will they revolt? Will they accept us? You know. And so they wanted to make sure that we were in alignment with what Rich had been producing before we got there, so that our voices kind of meld into the Sveniverse before they introduced us to his followers. Yeah, his fans. Yeah.
You know, one of the interesting things I read about when they were going through the process of getting the Spawn was that Rich isn't going anywhere. Sven is Sven. Sven is the longest running horror host in horror host history. Elvira is right on his tail too. And you know, I think that's so awesome and noble too of you guys to be there and keep pushing Sven into the multiverse.
I mean, this is the reason they looked for us, is because his fan base is still growing and they want more content. And for one person to have to produce all of that new content, that's a lot to ask, because again, we don't have a team of writers. We're writing all of that ourselves. We're directing ourselves. And so when you're doing that every month, at least, you know, we're doing one movie every month now, but when you're doing a movie every week, that's exhausting. That's how do you come up with everything, much less stand in the studio and actually make it happen. So the reason they brought us on is because the demand got higher, and so to produce more content, hey, you bring in more characters, and so that it kind of spreads that sort of creative energy around.
Yeah. Now, speaking of characters, how did the character Imp become to be, and what were some inspirations behind that?
It's me. There's really no, I know, it's like, I feel like most of it is just me doing the things, like sort of being who I would be in public, but then knowing that I have a little bit more freedom, that I'm not going to get maced if I do this kind of thing on the red line. You know, if I did it on the red line, yes, they might kick me off. But doing it on the show, it's been approved, so it's okay. It came from when I was in high school. I was going to be an art teacher, was the plan, up until I went to a really small school in a place called Brownfield, Texas, which is like 45 minutes outside of Lubbock, Texas, which is, I guess, the biggest city you'd think that was in that area. But so I was like, I'm going to be an art teacher. I would stay after school and work with the art teachers, and we'd work on crafts, and they'd show me all sorts of like glazing and, you know, all sorts of art techniques. And then in high school was the first time they offered theater, and it coincided with the exact same time that they were doing the art class. And so I had to decide what I wanted to do, and I was like, let's just try theater. I'd never really thought about it. I wanted to do some theater. And I was hooked, and there was no going back. And my parents were like, no, you were going to be like, you're going to have a stable art teacher job. And it was, no, you want to be an actor. And while I was in high school, I became very close friends with the choir director there, Billy Lou Billett. And she had just gotten to town, and she had this. Do you know what a madrigal dinner is?
No,
So they recreate like a king's court kind of holiday thing with like a holiday drink called wassail, and everyone's in costumes. It's almost like a Ren Fair dinner sort of thing. And then they have madrigal singers, and they sing those old songs and these crazy harmonies, and then they beat these like drums, and I don't know. But it's like, so you have a king, a queen, the princesses, all that stuff. And she's like, I need a court jester. And I've seen the way you behave in your homeroom class. You're out of control. I think you'd make a really good court jester. So from those 4 years in high school, I played the court jester, and I was like, oh, I like this. And it was just feeding off of my natural energy of things that, again, like Imp, it was like, well, I have these ideas, but I probably shouldn't say them out loud. But now I get paid to say them out loud and put them on television. So since then, I've always had this sort of impish, you know, jester-like energy going on. And of course, when I was a jester, I had rubber chickens in my bits. So it's kind of come full circle. Wow. Yeah.
Now, you know, for those who don't know what an imp is, can you tell the folks at home, you know, what the folklore of imp is all about?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a little demon. I based imp, the imp that I know, on Chicago has a lot of close-up magic. We're famous for that. That's like where it started in Chicago. And there's some place like the Chicago Magic Lounge and some other places that are popping up around the city. And the lore of a magician is that he had little demons. It's sort of like the little devil. You'd have like the good and the bad, but these were just both bad, kind of whispering the secrets of how magic works. And so it wasn't really the person that was doing it. It was more like he was possessed by these little demons that were kind of leading him down this path. And so when I started looking for the character, I was like, so who am I, and like what would I be in this world? I because of that imp energy, I was like, And then when I went to the Chicago Magic Lounge, I'd seen like little pins that had the little devils, and they had all these artwork with like little devils on shoulders and stuff. And I was like, that's it. I'm a little devil. and I've always been the sidekick. That's sort of my energy. So that's where I came from. So the imp is that little devil, the little mischievous kind of whispering in your ear, telling you, go do the thing that you're not supposed to do.
Oh man! And now you're making a career off of it.
It's wild. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to shake. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes there are days after where I'm still in imp mode, and I go back to the opera, and they're like, "Yeah, don't make any phone calls today, Scott. You're still in the imp zone." So.
Now, what's it like collaborating with Gwen Gooley and Nostalgia Veratu? What's that like? And I would love to be a fly on the wall in one of your writers' rooms.
We're in the groove now. Since they picked us sort of from like very different backgrounds. When we first started, we brought to the table like our strengths, but we hadn't really gelled. And then so I think it was a brilliant idea to have that year working together so that by the time we aired, we were clicking. And I think even now, because we don't just write for ourselves, we write for them as well. So we had to learn their voices. And it got to the point where we'd write something and I'd say, my character won't say that. Or my character would say it like this. And that's great because then we started to even bond even closer and get to understand what each of us really wanted to create with our characters. Bill, of course, is a radio legend, comic legend. So when we auditioned, we actually went up against Nostalgia Veratu. Like that was the audition. So we came in as our character, and we had to improvise. There you go. With Bill. I mean, we'd never met him. We just showed up, and he just started, and we had to prove that we had the chops to keep up with him, and it was scary. I mean, he's fast, and especially when he's in character. He's just, the wheels are turning at a point you're just like, this is frightening. When he's off camera, he's he's still very funny. He's still got lots of jokes going on, and sometimes he's a little too fast there too. But he's a lot more chill. But once he gets into nasty mode, so coming into being on the set for the first time, and then meeting Bill, and he's just going at you, and you're trying to, in a way, like I developed my character through the audition process, but this was the first time it was on its feet with another person in the dungeon. So that's a lot to take in. And then you're like, oh, what's my physicality here? And like, what does my voice sound like in this space? And I'm all of a sudden I've got a microphone, which I've been just doing Zoom before. You know what I mean? So there's all these layers, and then Bill comes at you with all these like comedy prompts, and you're like, ah. So Sarah and I auditioned on the same day, and she happened to be walking out at the same time that I was kind of doing my thing, and they said, hey, actually, why don't the two of you do something? And I'd never met Sarah before. So we quickly turned and we're like, I'm going to do this if you do this. Okay, and it just clicked. Like the instant connection of trust was there. And we executed our little scene quite well, I think. And that was it. Okay, thanks. Well, and they had a whole other round of people coming in to audition. So there was no done deal on that day. So that was my first taste of Bill. But as soon as that was done, Sarah and Gwen Gooley and I were just like, oh yeah, we click really well. Thanks for that. That felt really good. And so when they told us that you're officially in the cast with Sarah, I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I trust her. And with Bill, I was like, you're frighteningly intense. So I was like, and now we banter, and I understand. I'm at a more comfortable level. But at the start, Sarah was sort of my lifeboat. And it's funny, we have 3 different sort of dressing areas, not quite rooms. And since the beginning, Sarah and I have shared the same space. I have my own space where like I get dressed and stuff, but otherwise I'm always sitting with Sarah and we're just kind of gabbing in the back. Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, what does an average day look like? You walk into Weigel Studios. What's the first thing you do? How do you get into the imp character?
It's the makeup. Yeah. I never really had any makeup training. But when I started doing the children's television show, Green Screen Adventures, we the premise of that is it was like to promote literacy. Children would write stories, and then we would have our team of writers, one person, would turn their stories into scripts that we could act out, and then we could be like, hey, kids, if you like this story, your story could be on television too. Just write to, the show. And they were doing a lot of like little clip-on things, little clip-on bunny noses and ears on headbands and things. And those sorts of things hurt after a little while, after 8 hours of filming. And I was like, what if we did makeup instead? And they're like, sure, whatever you want, bring your makeup. And I had my makeup from college, and so I started doing the makeup. And I realized how important that was to my character. And all of any previous theatrical experience, you'd put on just a little bit of something, if at all. And you kept it really basic. And so for me to express it was as if all of that art training all of a sudden came together with my theater training. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. Like, it just felt so right. And honestly, we went national. Green Screen Adventures went national the next year. And so we just submitted for everything that we could possibly be nominated for a national Emmy for. Directing, editing, costumes, makeup. And we got nominated all 4 years for our makeup for national Emmys, and we won 3 out of the 4 years.
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's
I think
huge.
that one year we lost was to Goosebumps.
Of course.
And I mean, come on, that budget. But the thing is, I think they were filming in Canada, so I don't know if they really should have been up against my yeah, I'm kidding. I love Goosebumps. I'm getting Goosebumps now talking about it. Yeah, so I think it starts with the makeup. I get there. I just get in the zone because we have a short time we only have one makeup artist. And so they're rotating with painting Gwen and getting her wigs on and that sort of thing. And then they've got to get Nasty into makeup and his nails. That takes because you got to glue those things on. And his teeth. That's a touchy subject. And they're very fragile. And luckily, I do most of my makeup except for the prosthetics. I have the makeup artist does my prosthetics. Thank you for that. And so for me, it's the first thing. I put on some music. It kind of depends on like what the script is going to be. If it's super spooky, I go into I'll play a Halloween playlist. If it's a goofy show, I'll put on just like quirky background show tunes or whatever to kind of get me in the mood. But it's the first thing is always put the eyes on. And which actually, I don't know if you've ever had makeup like right around your eyes, but it totally changes your field of vision for some reason. I don't know why. Nothing's on my eyes, but as all of a sudden I'm like running into things, which is not good when you put on wings, because then you take up more space than you're expecting because you have the wingspan and then you're kind of blinded. So you at home, if you ever want to be imp for Halloween, make sure that you have someone going with you when you cross the road and things, because it's not just as simple. I've got makeup on now. But the makeup is really what gets me going. Yeah. Cool. It's funny because we only film 2 to 3 days a month. And it's like the first day I'm always like, wait, how do I do this again? I don't remember how that, and then all of a sudden it clicks and I'm in it. And then I'm even like more impish in that moment than when I'm on set. Like as soon as I got that makeup on, it's cooking. Yeah. So don't ask me anything because it's going to be a lot of baloney whenever I give you the answer. Yeah.
Now you're on set. What's the vibe of the set like? Is it a fun experience? Are you guys really like to the books? Like how's it like on set?
It depends on the script. First of all, it's very cold. I'll tell you that. Like the temperature in that space is freezing. I don't know, the lights, I don't know, it's the costumes, it's because of Gwen's wig, I don't know. But maybe it just keeps our jokes fresh.
Or it's a dungeon.
It's just a dungeon. It's very breezy. There are holes, you know what I mean? There are holes in the wall. There are cracks in the floor. It's super chill. I mean, but it depends on what we're filming. So like if it's a music video type scene, then everyone's up there and it's hectic and everyone's like, I'm on a ladder and someone's doing this with a string and a bat. And it's like, okay, great. And we set it up and we record it and that's a lot. But sometimes like we have like there are different levels of what we're filming. Like our bumpers that come in and out of commercials, those usually one and done, pretty straightforward. Line them up. All right, Amp, you're up. Do yours. Thump, 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 thump. Okay, great. Gwen, you're next. Ba, ba, ba. Naxi's still getting his nail done. Are there any scenes that, Gwen and Imp can do together? So it's super flexible. But then when like a bigger thing comes up, then it's like all hands on deck. It gets serious. Whoa. Yeah. And that's with House of Svengoolie. When we film with Rich, it is like being with
Elvis?
Comic royalty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like all the Three Stooges put into one person, and you kind of want to take a knee. I mean, you'll see him out in like the shared space, out of costume, and he's just making copies at the copy machine, and he's just charming, and you're talking la 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 la. But when he comes in as Svengoolie, there's just this sort of energy, and you get chills, and he's funny. It's not like he's like, all right, nobody talk to me and go sit over here, at my desk. No, he's making the jokes. He's cooking. He's in it. It's just there's so much, like it's like a generous authority with him. Yeah. And he lets us play. I mean, I'll be running circles around him literally while we're reading a script just to kind of see where I want to go with it, and he's totally cool with it. You think he'd be like, calm down, kid. But no, he's just like, whatever you need. I remember one time Gwen punched him in the arm in a take. No, she was like, ba. And we were all like, you don't touch Svengoolie. Don't break Svengoolie. And we were like, but no, he liked it. He liked it. Yeah. It's always great when you make him laugh. That's the beautiful thing. And typically he writes our scripts for us when we do the bits for his shows. So when he writes something and then you do it the way that you can tell, like he had just pictured it, it just feels so good. Yeah.
What's the best way to make Svengoolie laugh?
References. If you know like old television references and you can like drop some of those puns in there, man, does he giggle. He loves that stuff. Yeah. He loves the classic television. Yeah. Wow.
Gosh, like I said, it would be so cool just to be a fly on the wall and watch you guys perform. That sounds like a blast.
Not a lot of people are on set. There's just basically us, and then there'll be like a production assistant. But most of the time, it's a closed set, especially on Svengoolie days. It's Sven and then Jim, and then us. But as soon as we're done, we leave. Like we don't stick around. Yeah.
So what can we expect next from the House of Svengoolie? What do you guys got coming up this holiday season?
Oh, yeah. We have a vinyl coming out. This new... I'm kidding. No.
You're a singer.
We're talking about... Because Sarah writes so much music. I want... And, of course, some of our production team has agreed. We'd love to do... There are, like, piano bar venues here in Chicago. We could book a night and do, like, a musical review of all the things that we've done on the House of Svengoolie so far. But she's not so much into the live singing as the pre-recorded. So what do we have coming up? We have more. We're doing so much more. When we started, we did like, for House of Svengoolie, we do a movie, wait a couple months, do a movie. And now we're doing sometimes 2 movies at the same time. We'll do one movie on a Monday, the next movie's on a Tuesday, then we do the Sven movie on Wednesday. So we have a lot more content coming up. And we've actually planned out through early next year even. We've got some incredible titles coming up. And modern stuff too. We just did Blair Witch. So we've got some more kind of 90s, 2000s movies coming up as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Sven's always been one of those guys who, ever since I was a kid, I always remember going to like comic book conventions or the zoo, and he was always being a part and mixing with the people. Is that something that he's instilling in the House of Svengoolie as well, for you guys to come out and be a part of the community and try to, interact and bump elbows with people? That
is a goal. That is something we're planning. The thing is, we don't want to step on anyone's toes. It's still Sven-averse. It's still Sven's show. And so that Chicago connection is definitely rooted in what he has brought to this show. And so there's a little bit of this is his playground. He's ruling it for now. But we are looking to kind of ease our way into that. And people are asking, on social media, there were posts, is the squad going to be at C2E2 and that sort of thing. So we respect that this is his domain, and we're not going to, move into that unless he's ready for us. And if the fans are ready, that's, I think, a part of why the studio took so long, or took their time to introduce us to his fans, was they wanted to make sure that the fans were open to having us. It's kind of abrasive. Imagine, you've got, let's say, what's the show, like Friends, you know what I mean? All of a sudden there's a new neighbor that comes in after 7 seasons, and you're like, I don't know, no, we just like our friends. I don't want this nosy neighbor all of a sudden. So they kind of eased us in, but we were mostly on the social media, or we do like one bit every now and then, because we wanted to test the waters, and we wanted to see what the audiences were thinking. And each platform is different. I'm sure when it comes to like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I mean, it's a whole different audience. And so you're actually trying to curate one performance for 4 different audiences. That's pretty complex. And so I think they were just sort of tiptoeing in and just kind of getting a feel for how to introduce us without causing, backlash or rejection. So, it's something where we're kind of taking our time, and especially with in person. We actually have something big coming up later next month that we'll be announcing pretty soon. So.
And has anybody had like a negative reaction to watching like the Spawn of Spanguli come on? Was anybody like, oh well, we only want Spanguli?
It's like my dad once said, and I'm sure he got it from something else. It's like opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone's got one. So some of the opinions haven't been the most glowing for each of us. It's been sort of, I think my character gets the brunt of it because I'm the one causing the most trouble, and I'm the most sort of like curdling in the scene. You know what I mean? Like, I think what Gwen brings has that sort of historic horror host feel, the Elviras, you know what I mean, that sort of energy. And so that fits seamlessly, I think, from a general audience perspective, to say, oh yeah, that character fits here. And then with Nostalgia being a vampire, and so there's, he's sort of that sidekick. And so I just kind of went, I'm coming in, like, oh great, he moved in, and what's he doing down there? And it's like, oh, so it took a little bit more of shaping my character to fit into their dynamic, I think.
I thought they did a really good job of the 3 characters they brought in for Nostalgia Veratu to kind of, cater to the older audiences. Gwen Gooley for sure attracting the female audience, and so a lot of dudes probably. And like for you, your mannerisms and your past work with children and doing puppeteering.
I'm nervous about what you're about to say. I'm really
take this as the best.
Where are you
compliment.
Going with this? I have a rubber chicken nearby. Chicken battle.
Chicken battle.
There you go.
Oh, mine squeaks. Yours doesn't squeak.
Well, yours is frying, so he's screaming in agony.
It's totally worth it. Thank you for being fried. Oh, that's the best kind of chicken.
Yum.
I guess the point I was trying to say is that you really cater, and I think it was an important thing to bring you into that role of being able to cater to like the younger audiences. You're very much like a Pee Wee Herman Munster, if you will.
Totally.
Have you heard that yet?
Yeah,
I thought that in the way.
I have heard the Pee Wee, and actually, it'd been a while since anyone had compared me to Pee Wee. And then when I started doing the show and online, they're like, hey, it's like Pee Wee Herman. It's a family show. You know what I mean? It's multi-generational, and you're right. Yeah, we each kind of bring something that's relatable to the different demographics, for sure. I recently started watching the Pee Wee as himself. I don't know if you've seen the documentary about Pee Wee Herman that came out. And I mean, I watched Pee Wee's Playhouse a little bit. Didn't get to watch a lot because I think my mom was like, what is this chaos? I don't want this to encourage my children to be this chaos at home. And so after kind of watching the first half of it, I thought, oh my goodness, I do a lot of the same things Pee Wee does. I mean, even when he's being interviewed just as Paul Rubens, whenever it's like, I feel like when he's being bratty to the interviewers and things, I'm like, oh, that's me. That's the way I respond. Oh, yeah. So it's flattering. It's very flattering. Yeah. I do appreciate that.
Now, who were some of your inspirations growing up? What made you want to get into theater, and who did you really idolize growing up?
Oh, man.
And even now?
I think I was raised on PBS. Support public television.
Preach.
Yes. Yeah, I think where a lot of my characters started was from the Sesame Street. I grew up watching a lot of Sesame Street. I had a lot of Sesame Street toys. Back then, they had the pull string thing, so a lot of my toys you'd pull in, got any bird seed, that sort of thing. So I think that's where my passion for the character development came from Jim Henson. Obviously, some of the most iconic characters. And when I was doing the children's television show, I had a spreadsheet of like character voices that I could bring in because we were doing sometimes 3 or 4 short stories in a day, and I didn't want to be like, okay, so what is the zebra going to sound like? What's the turtle going to sound like? And in a spreadsheet, and a lot of the voices were based on, at least in my head, maybe they didn't come out sounding like, but they were based on the Jim Henson characters. Yeah. So I never really thought of myself. I never actually even thought about exploring being a puppeteer, but seeing those characters and becoming familiar with those voices set me up for what I bring to the table as an actor today.
Cool. Now, what made you first want to get into puppetry? You've been in it for a little while, and
yeah. Again, like makeup, wasn't trained in it. I think it came from me being an artist and like loving working with my hands. It came out of sheer boredom, actually. I was house managing at a small theater company in Lincoln Park, and we started renting one of our upstairs spaces to a church for their Sunday mornings. And being the head house manager, I was the one that had to get up at 6:30 and get to the theater by 7, make the coffee and things. And so I'd be kind of like, okay, because there are no patrons whenever you're just renting it out to another organization. And I love being a house manager. So being a house manager, you greet people, you make sure the box office is going, you make sure the bar is full. It feels like you're throwing a party, and I love that energy. But I was like, great, I'm a house manager, and I'm just sitting at this desk. And so one of the, during that run of the rental, it was kind of a holiday time, and someone gave me a, how to make puppets out of paper plates sort of book, you know what I mean? Like glue these 2 sticks together, and now you have a puppet. And I was like, I don't know, I want something a little bit meatier. So you Google, you find some patterns, and I happened to be at a frame store not long after that. I'm telling you, everything just kind of lines up, the way it's supposed to be. Because I wasn't looking for making puppets. I was like, oh yeah, puppets are what I want. It just kind of like, oh yeah, I could make puppets. I'm kind of bored. Yeah, how do you make a puppet? And next door was this fabric shop that had boxes of leftover fabric for really cheap. So I just grabbed some fabric, and the next Sunday, I'm just cutting out patterns. I'm sewing some stuff. I'm hot gluing eyeballs on, really just to pass the time. And it was during the run of the next show at the theater where I was house manager. It was Victory Gardens Theater at the Biograph, the historic Biograph Theater. And I was working on the puppet, and we had an accessibility show, and our person in charge of the sign language came out after the show, and she saw me sitting on a bench and she goes, oh, and I kind of worked with her before at the theater, and she goes, oh, you do puppets? And I was like, you mean, yeah, fake it till you make it. Yes, I do puppets. Obviously, I've been doing them all my life. And that's when she said, oh, well, I didn't know you were an actor. We're having auditions for this children's television show, and we're looking for, people of your size, because actually the studio was really short, so you couldn't have tall actors, who do puppets. And I was like, oh, great. Yeah, I'll bring my puppets, and I'll audition for your show. That's great. So it's everything just kind of lined up. At the same time, I was doing a monthly cabaret show called Simply Scotty. And it was 3 hours of yours truly singing whatever the heck I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt so good. And we'd sell out. I mean, it was great. Loved it. That piano bar is no longer around. It was near Wrigleyville. It's called 3160. Now I think it's called Shakers. It's a pool hall or whatever. If I played pool, I would just go there. But at that time, I was doing my one-man cabaret show the first Sunday of every month, and there were songs that I wanted to sing that I felt like maybe I shouldn't sing. Not that they were racy or anything, but I was like, it's missing a flair. And so I thought, why not make puppets to sing those songs? So there's Tom Lehrer, he's an old pianist, songwriter, whatever, but he writes a lot of spoof material and comedy songs, very witty, very, very dry, very smart. And I thought, I need kind of a kooky little sidekick character. And so my first puppet, Freddie the puppet, we got to sing those songs, and those went over really well. Songs like "Poisoning Pigeons in the Park," things that I thought maybe I shouldn't sing it. People are gonna be like, that's just peculiar. That's But with the puppets singing it, they go, "That's brilliant! Of course, a puppet would kill pigeons in the park. That's endearing." And so, like when I wanted to sing like big diva belt songs, so I made a puppet that looked a little bit like Dolly Parton / I don't know, Tina Turner. And she started singing all the 9 to 5s and that sort of thing that I thought, well, I mean, I could sing it, but if you add a puppet that has a character that's like, and she's, her name was Lavendeer. She was a purple deer. She could sing all those country and Shania Twain songs that might have felt a little, I don't know, out of place for me, but with a puppet, I could sing what I wanted, which was great. So all of the puppets sort of came together at the same time. Yeah. And I wasn't seeking it. It just came to me. And then, cool. You watch some YouTube videos, and after about 5 minutes, you're a puppeteer.
Learn anything on the internet these days.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to be a surgeon someday. Brain surgeon. YouTube.
Now, you brought your puppet with you, too. You brought Mr. Marbles. You mind?
I did bring Marbles. Yes. Come here, Marbs.
Welcome to the show, Marbles.
Oh, look at that guy. Now, he's just on display right now. He's not. Can I do the voice on your show? Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, he's gone now. Oh. Hold on. You don't want to see what's inside there. It's very graphic.
What is inside?
Oh, there's secrets. Puppeteer secrets.
Whoa.
Oh. All right, now we're talking. Hey, Marbs.
What's up, Marbles?
Oh, isn't he great?
Hey, Marbles.
He's not studio trained, so he can't stay out for too long. But this rubber mat thing is probably that'll soak it right up. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. Of course he's trained. He's trained.
Scott signed the release waiver, so you're covered, kid. No worries.
I know I should have let you look at it first.
It's okay. It's just fine print. It means nothing.
Right? Yeah. And with my vision, I don't know what I signed actually. So I just brought my stamp like I usually do. But yeah, I've always designed my own puppets. I found a couple patterns, and I've always just sort of enhanced them and changed them the way that I feel fits the character.
And what was the inspiration behind Marbles?
Marbles came because we were asked to, we were invited to write our own comic strips for the 45th anniversary comic book for Svengoolie, which it's so funny. They ask you these because everything's sort of snowballing into so much more content. So much
Here,
more.
Buddy, chew on this.
There you go.
There you go.
Here, get out of here. There's so much happening with the show because it was sort of like, let's just kind of throw things to the wall and see what sticks. And then when it was time to prepare the next comic book, they go, we'd like to invite you to write your own. You get your own bit in your own story in this comic book, and you're like, huh? I just started. Are you serious? You trust me to bring something to the official lore of Svengoolie? That's insane. And they paired us with like professional comic artists. It was crazy. Wow. So what came to me was sort of what do you call that? An origin story. And I thought, I'd like to have a little bit of bring my puppets to the show. I hadn't done that yet. And so I thought if I write in a character in the comic strip, then I can bring the character to the show itself. So that was sort of the inspiration. And my strip is my story is sort of a Sorcerer's Apprentice sort of thing. I'm like tending Uncle Sven's man-eating plants. They're not going well. I steal a spell book from his private office, and then I make all this magic happen. And one of the things is that I bring one of the tower's gargoyles to life, and that's Marbles. In the end, the spells get all reversed except for Marbles. Marbles gets to stay. And so yeah,
good. I'm glad he's sticking around.
The only concern is he's getting bigger than me. I think on social media, people are asking to see more Marbles, and they're not saying I want to see more Imp. So yeah,
he's just fluffy and cute. That's fine.
I know. I'm ready for the merchandising. I want everyone to have their own Marbles plushie, Marbles keychains. What are those creepy little dolls that are like really expensive right now?
The
the
Funko
Labubu's.
Pops?
The little boo-boos. Those are haunting.
Yeah.
Those are, I don't, those, but those are, it's like, oh yeah, marbles could be a little boo-boo.
I have a
don't think so.
12-year-old sister. She goes crazy for those fucking things, dude. And
They're frightening.
The minute they come out, she's like, "We gotta go get one." I'm like, "All right, I guess." Fucking gets sold out in like
Oh sure,
a day.
they're like the tickle me Elmo craze. People get hurt when you go for a little boo
It
boo.
was
Yeah,
funny,
you get a
yeah.
big boo boo.
Yeah.
if you're not careful.
Oh, yeah.
Marbles merchandising, though. That's got to make some good money in the
Yeah,
future.
I think so.
huh?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Merchandising.
We'll see how it goes. There's a little bit of love hate there because he's taking the spotlight. He's
Well, come on. Let's not forget.
who's
You're really pulling the strings.
the
on this
man
one.
behind the marbles.
There you go.
It's me. It's me.
How did you get your start on green screen adventures? How did that come up to be?
That was through the puppet thing. That's whenever I was in the lobby working on Freddy the puppet. That was my very first puppet. And Jessica Carlton came through the lobby and said, "Hey, we're looking." I guess they had just lost an actor that was like my size and did puppets. Like
And that was the audition you were talking
And then
about?
so then she
Yeah.
was like, "Do you want to come to this audition?" And I was children's television at 7 a.m. I didn't know what this show was, and I did some. I like watched, and it was like much like Svengoolie. There's no streaming. You know what I mean?
yeah.
When you watch it in the moment, and that's it. You don't get to see it later. So it was hard to find the content of Green Screen Adventures before I went in for that audition. But what I did see, I was like, oh yeah, this is manic. I love it. And so I went in. It was actually similar to the audition experience with Svengoolie. They just set me up with the cast and said, play. This is the story. What can you bring? And we just played character. And they'd stop, kind of like an improv show. Okay, next, we're going to do this. You're this and you're this. Go. And we just kind of played through it. And it was kind of a couple hours. And there were a lot of us there. And then on the way out, the producer, Gail Sigovitz, said to me, well, I think we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. And before I got home, I'd had a voicemail that said, we'd like to offer you a contract if you're interested.
Wow,
so,
that's pretty
yeah.
cool,
And
man.
that, I mean, everything just happens for a reason, you know?
You
You're
kinda
in the
have
right
to put
place, right
yourself-
time. Yeah, right time. Yeah, everything's in the timing. Yeah.
Do you think the art of puppeteering has been lost a little bit, considering now that like all this like animation stuff is like really easy to do now?
I think there's still a warmth that's missing from the digital puppetry. I don't know if you're familiar with Puppet Up, which is Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, has this show. It travels called it's Puppet Up, and it's improvised puppetry, and they do like some serious. It's adult humor. It's a lot of fun, and they have like it's almost like Whose Line Is It Anyway? And they have a whole line of puppeteers, and then like a huge wall of all of this like puppets you can choose from, and bins of puppets and things. And they get a prompt from the audience, and it's brilliant. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. If you're listening, Brian. And what they've started trying to incorporate is sort of a virtual puppet as well. It's something that they're sort of tweaking, and it's basically like magic gloves that you kind of wiggle them, and then there's a projection that comes to life on a screen. And yeah. But even then, it's not as funny because it doesn't have all of the dimension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have that quirk. Like with a physical puppet, you can squish it and turn it and bend it and things. You know, Kermit's famous faces are all kind of squishy. On a flat screen, you lose that. So I think it has become more limited in mainstream. You're not going to see as many puppets, but I don't think it's lost. I'm a part of, actually there are different puppetry guilds across the country. I'm a part of the Chicagoland Puppetry Guild, which is sort of the Midwest. And we meet up every November. Am I giving away too much information? Don't try to find me at this place. I'm not going to be there this year, actually. I can't be there.
There you go.
Just so you know. But we do this thing, we call it Puppet Camp, and all the puppeteers get together, and we do these potpourris where we like try out new material and new jokes and new songs, and then we improvise, and then we also, it's sort of like a passing of different techniques and styles. We do these workshops where people present like, this is the way I do my marionettes, and this is the way I build them. And so I think the education is still being shared. We're still passing on the tradition of puppetry. It's definitely a more limited audience than ever before, but it's still there.
And are there like different types of puppetry? Because I know like you had like where you put your hand in there. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have like where you have like strings and stuff. Is that also puppetry? And
Oh
like
yeah, lots of different.
what kind of different kinds of puppetry are there?
So this is hand in glove, because he's just basically like a glove.
Mm-hmm.
There's the hand and rod, where he's got a little stick, like you can do the little rod stuff, that sort of thing. No, this is just the hand. The hand and glove is like Cookie Monster. So it takes two puppeteers. So when you have one person doing that, and then you have the other coming up as another hand, and then you have another puppeteer who gets to play the other hand on the other side. So Cookie Monster's two. So same with Bert and Ernie. Ernie is he's got two hands. So but then you also have marionettes, the one on strings. You have stick puppets, which are basically puppets on a stick. That's so sorry, Mike. Oh my God, was that in the waiver? If I break this, I don't think I don't think this is in the waiver. Yeah,
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah,
I think that falls on us.
unless it falls on me, and then then I remember
that's
seeing
a whole
that.
different.
And then there's like shadow puppetry. I mean, as simple as like doing your little bunny foo-foo. That's something. But also, there's the cool thing. There's a lot of puppeteers who take their shadow puppetry show, because you have to have very precise like scenario to put on a shadow puppet show, because you have to be able to like control light. You know what I mean? So if you're doing it in a public library or something like that, to get all the light out is nearly impossible. But what they do is, do you remember those old projectors you would have in school that had they use those? And so you get a really strong blast of light. And if you do two of them at the same time, you can layer the puppets, and so you can make like a background and have the puppets like dancing on top of your background.
That's cool.
It's really intense, but those things are so heavy, and like replacing a light bulb is so expensive. It's just, but yeah, those are just some of the few different kinds of puppetry. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Muppet?
Oh man, favorite Muppet.
Or do you identify as any of them?
Grover, probably.
Grover.
Yeah,
I see.
that's kind of my. That's more my style.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah. Trying to be daring, but also always, messing it up. So, yeah.
What about you, Jack? Do you have a favorite Muppet? I think we talked about this one time.
Yeah, we always say the Mount Rushmore of Muppets that define your personality. We've asked that to a couple people. Mine's always Dr. Teeth. Dr. Teeth is so good. Fozzie Bear. I love Sweetums, because he's just really sweet, but he's kind of scary. But like people just don't really know him that well.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the last one would be. How about you? What's your Mount Rushmore of Muppets?
Okay, let's see who I've got. Let's see. There's Grover. There's Big Bird. Big Bird was big. I went to
Bird was
Big
big.
Bird for Halloween many a time. Let's see. So that's like the Sesame Street ones. Gosh, I'm so that's like the Cookie Monster sort of, you know what I mean, with the eyes that do the and then I think I'm gonna say Miss Piggy.
Oh,
Man, she's a classy broad, but she doesn't stand for anything that she doesn't. I mean, she doesn't want to be a part of. She's like, she's legit. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, she
She's
runs
an
the show.
independent woman now.
Yeah. Oh
She
yeah.
doesn't need no
yeah.
frog.
Hell yeah.
Oh man. Now let's get into the horror stuff. Have you always been a fan of horror films growing up? And what were some of your favorites growing up?
Oh, honestly, horror is very new to me. Yeah. We didn't watch a lot of it growing up. I was into like fantasy and sci-fi, Labyrinth, that sort of thing. Again, the puppets, but not on purpose, but never ending story. I love like the big epic and the comedy, Princess Bride that's like what I grew up on. But it wasn't until the pandemic when I pulled up a list of, we all had so much time on our hands, like the top 100 movies you should watch. And a lot of them were the Universal monsters. And I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And I fell in love. I was like, I can't believe I've missed this. And then I started like deep dive, because there's so much that's connected to those like original monsters that and I'm not just saying like the Bride of Frankenstein. I'm saying like you watch stuff and you realize, the cinematography is similar, and the way they've filmed the shadows in something that's like Candyman, you'll notice it like sometimes the light hits a window and you're like, that's like in Frankenstein's castle. You know what I mean? There's so much respect.
German
to
expressionism.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that's the word of the day. Exactly. So that's kind of been, and I guess before that I was like, I don't know. I think I'm I think I'm afraid of scary movies. I think I'm not good with horror. And then I realized, no, I'm pretty immune to horror. I'm actually pretty good with it. You know, I watch Smile and people are like, and I'm like, oh, this is fun.
This is funny.
yeah. So I think I've definitely started, and because we watch so much for Svengoolie now, it's definitely become a part of my life. Yeah.
Do you have any top favorites? You know, like who's your maybe all-time favorite horror monster?
Oh, the Creature.
Creature
from the Black Lagoon. Yeah.
Oh, the OG.
Classic.
And not just because like that storyline is it's sweet, but what they did to be able to make this creature who could basically breathe underwater, and what they executed at that time is just so crazy impressive. Yeah.
Right.
So there's that adds layers to like why I love that.
Because I know they had a couple actors in the Gilman suit, but wasn't the one guy a professional Navy diver too?
Yeah.
And those shots were right. Yeah, you can't do it with a regular Joe. And plus the shots that they got in that original movie were so cool. You know, they had the camera at the bottom of the water, and you see the people and the creature swimming over.
Yeah.
Like that was so
Genius.
cool, especially for back then. That just was not heard of. Back
Exactly.
In the day.
Yeah, and we try to push the envelope with the House of Svengoolie, because a lot of what's happened on Sven is like you have the straight to camera, and it's sort of like scene by scene by scene, just based on one camera. And Gwengoolie, Sarah and I have been thinking outside the box, and it's like we want cameras to pan in. We're actually looking into having like a handheld camera that they can sync with our audio, so that we can do more like up close and pans, and not so much like The Office where things kind of get a little bit like in your face, but just have a little more variety, so it's not just a park and bark where you're looking at the camera and you kind of split it as this like one level. We want it to get deep. We want it to come in. We want it so, yeah. We're trying to add a little more cinematography to what we're writing as well. Yeah.
Now, what are some of the movies that you've done some research on, especially working with Sven? You know, I'm sure that alone has exposed you to so much horror history. Do you have a favorite horror history fact? Do you have what was some of the biggest things that really impacted you when you started with the job?
Oh my goodness, what is? I guess something that I realized, and I think this also eased me into like the genre of horror to start, is how DIY it is. You know what I mean? Like when you see like the smoke effects or makeup and props and things, you can see the seams on these things, and they weren't even filmed in HD. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that brought me to it, to say this has kind of been my life personally, is that like doing the puppets, doing my own makeup and things was like, oh, horror is very much on a dime, and similar to like with Svengoolie, we get to make our own props and things, but because of that, like I'm taking a paper towel roll and hot gluing some felt to it and being like, I know what this is. This is now my new invention. You know what I mean? So I think that's to understand that you can create so much drama with very little is so revolutionary to me. You always think it's television, it's got to be big, it's got to be expensive, it's going to take a long time to create. And before you know it, it's like, oh no, you just staple this one thing to this other thing, and you put this red light on it, and it's exactly what we need it to be. Yeah.
Bat on a string, right?
The bat on the string still works, baby.
Still works.
Yeah.
Still works. Don't fix what ain't broke, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Do you have a movie that like really kind of sticks with you? Do you have an all-time favorite horror movie outside of Creature from the Black Lagoon? I know that might be your favorite monster, but movie in general.
Yes, Monster Squad from the 80s.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Now, when I was younger, and maybe this is why I didn't watch a lot of horror, my friend, my best friend, Melissa, how dare she? She lived down the block, and she had it on VHS, and she was like, we have to watch this. I mean, couldn't get through it, and not gonna lie, slept under the covers, like with my hands on my hand, like pulling the sheets this way for like months after just getting a glimpse of that movie. Of course, now I watch it and it's just brilliant because it also captures all of the great Universal monsters. They all come together in this one movie, and the lore of it is it's such a smart, and then it's a timepiece. It's period, it's 80s, it's like when I grew up, so like all of that slang and all of those very sort of Breakfast Club character tropes are in it and things, and so it's just very now sort of comforting. So I put it on all the time. Yeah.
What about what movie scares you the most, perhaps?
in general, I'm gonna just blanket zombies.
Yeah.
Anything with zombies really creeps me out because zombies are like the one thing that could happen. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
The right scenario, you could get zombies chasing you through Target. So,
I mean, it's already happening. Fentanyl. It's
ooh, yeah. So zombies are
Don't do drugs, kids.
The ones don't do drugs. The more you know. Yeah. The franchise, the 28 Days Later.
yeah.
I've seen that.
I had to dare myself to sit through that, and I mean, I was just gripping the couch. Okay, here we go. And so I got through that, and then when they did, was it 28 weeks later? I was like, oh, I got it. I got through the first one. Nope, not getting through it. That was hard. That was really hard. And now they're coming out with the 28. What is it now? 28 years later, or there's there's a third one coming out in the franchise that's coming out really soon, and it's just yeah, sure, I can do this. I know better. I know, because they're also fast. The slow
Right.
zombies, you're like, okay, I understand this is a problem, but I'm just going to, walk real fast. It's fine. It's fine. But those really fast ones that can the
World
Last
War
of Us,
Z,
sort of
Last
that
of
sort of,
Us,
yeah, that's who I love it. It's great. And then all of a sudden this mushroom thing jumps out at you and you're like, oh, crap. So yeah, anything that moves too fast is, and potentially possible, like the Last of Us,
Yeah.
It could happen. There are those mushrooms that do the brain control thing.
I'd probably get turned into a zombie. I love mushrooms, man.
Portobello?
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. Well, talking about food, yeah. What do you think are some ways that you've grown as an actor, all-around entertainer since starting Spanguli?
Oh, the improv, for sure. I've always been, I'd say pretty quick, but I think now that I'm surrounded by people, because even Jim Roach, who runs Sven's show directly, they're always on. The comedy is always happening. And so when you're standing there, you're doing a read through, someone's going to say something, you just kind of get into that mindset and you play along. And so that's definitely something that I feel like I'm doing more of in even auditions outside of the show. So
is there a couple skills that you would advise younger actors that want to get into the industry that they would probably need to learn or maybe
I would
get better at?
Lip trumpet is vital.
What's lip trumpet?
If you want to have a career, if you can't lip trumpet,
Kid, you're gonna make it in the business.
you just no. What do you
Sorry,
need?
kids.
Can I say stamina?
Yeah.
It's constant. If you're really pursuing this, you have to. And one of the tricky things you learn is that you don't have to say yes to everything. When you start out, you feel like you have to say yes to everything. There was a time I was doing 3 shows at the same time, and one of them was a late night show. And I got to that show and I had friends in the audience, and I remember getting to the theater, and then I remember myself sitting at the banquette after the show, having a cocktail, and they're like, "That was a great show," and I was like, "I don't know how I got here." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's I'd done a morning show, I'd done an afternoon show with another theater, and then I had a suitcase that I carry with me because I had 3 different costumes because a lot of the non-union stuff you provide your own costumes, or at least that's the way it used to be, and so I would have a suitcase and I would okay, which costume, which show am I doing? And I remember very vividly. So you have to have stamina because there's a lot of go. But yes, you don't have to say yes to everything. You can pick and choose the roles that you're interested in. So
That's good.
Now you're a singer as well. I saw you're a tenor.
that's right. Yeah. Are you singers too? Do you sing?
Not really.
Yeah. No. Such confidence.
My go-to karaoke song is "Toxic" by Britney Spears.
Ooh, crowd pleaser. Very nice. Mine is Tina Turner's "The Best."
Oh, there you go.
Because it's got that bass line. Bum, 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 bum. Everyone loves it. Yeah. What about you? Do you karaoke?
I karaoke quite often. Yeah, I
Oh,
used to be
awesome.
a karaoke jockey at Trader Todd's over in Lakeview.
Oh, heck yeah, Trader
So-
Todd.
Trader Todd.
I've been there a couple of times.
You know what's funny is I know so many people in the art scene, and they always say this to me, and I always say it to them. I'm like, I feel like I've met you before, and they're like,
right.
and sometimes I'll mention that. Oh yeah, I worked at Trader Todd's, and they're like, oh yeah, I sang Mr. Brightside, Blackout Drunk.
Yeah.
That job ruined Mr. Brightside for me.
Yeah.
But no, love singing. Karaoke's always super fun, especially in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
I saw on your resume too. You worked at Davenport's as well. That's always a great place to go out and sing some
Incredible.
songs.
Yeah, great space. Although it's changed now.
Yeah.
It's no longer a piano bar. that's one of the things that's happening in Chicago. I don't know if there's an actual dedicated piano bar left in the city that's open to just cabaret. There's a lot of jazz, beautiful, incredible jazz here in Chicago, but to have like that cabaret sort of the beautiful thing about a cabaret, besides like actually booking the back room, is that it's sort of like there's the baby grand piano in the middle of the room and all the singers gather around and they just kind of go around and they sing. You know what I mean? It's just this shared experience. It's like Cheers the musical.
Yeah.
And there's that space just doesn't really exist in Chicago anymore. And I was actually thinking, because I'm up on the north side, I'm not going to give you my address.
Can we get your social security number too?
That I'll give you. If you can find it, I don't know what it is. But there are some empty storefronts up in Andersonville. And I'm like, dude, you throw up some like velveteen type curtains and you get a little keyboard in there, you know, make it BYOB and BYOB, and then it could be like Scotty's Place is what I was thinking.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And then we could get just that front room cabaret piano bar feeling, because that still happens in New York. You can still find that in New York, but that's just not really happening in Chicago anymore. But that was there's a group in town called the Chicago Cabaret Professionals. And now we're kind of looking for a new home because Davenport's was our home. There was the Gentry. I don't know if you were familiar with the Gentry. There were two Gentrys, but they eventually, you know, kind of gave up the ghost. And same with Davenport's. Now they have it's more like just a cocktail bar. Yeah.
And Andersonville would be such a great place to have a cabaret show. That's the right kind of clientele. You want like those swanky people who like to get out and get the good cocktails, hear some good songs. Yeah. That whole area is so fun.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's always changing. Like I said, the Chicago Magic Lounge is now a staple in that area. And there are some places like Vincent's. I don't know if you're familiar. They have a really good burger. And they have a lot of live music. But again, it's almost like background music. The piano's in the corner. People are loud. The doors are open. The windows are open. So you're getting a lot of like street sounds. There's not a dedicated piano bar. Yeah. Yeah,
and there's something to be said about the intimacy of a genuine cabaret show like that. Like you said, you get the felt curtains. You're in the back room. It's nice and dark.
Yeah.
It's a mood. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Rat Pack in a way, you know?
Oh, sure. Like definitely. The Great American Songbook. It's like we're still singing it, but now we're trying to find the right place to, you know. If you know of a place, put it in the comments.
Yeah,
we'll take a look. Or if you're looking to sponsor Scotty's Scotty's Place, go ahead, throw it in the comments. Let me know. Give me your social security number.
Comment everyone's social security number down below, please. I'm kidding.
Don't do that.
Bad idea. We're not liable.
Why was Scott the last guest you had on your show?
He didn't read the fine print. No, what would you like to do with your career? Maybe 5-10 years down the line, is that something that you really want to do? Is a Scotty's Place kind of like a Dangerfields, if you will, having your own spot, or where would you like to be?
I do miss live theater. You know, up until the pandemic, I did a lot of live theater, and I love that like immediate response with an audience. Almost to a fault. I mean, sometimes I would go off book a little bit because I'd be like, oh, yeah, they like that joke. I've got another one for you. So I won't do that again. If you want to cast me in one of your live shows, any casting director, I promise to stick to the book. But I miss live theater, so I definitely want to get back to that. And there's still a lot of that in Chicago. But yeah, the piano bar thing actually really sounds like a possibility. And plus, I plan on staying in Chicago. This is definitely my home, so whatever I can do to help keep that art alive, and also cabaret goes hand in hand with puppetry. I mean, a lot of what I was doing at 3160 and Simply Scotty was what in the 70s it was called puppet cabaret, and a lot of before that you would hide the puppeteer, but when puppet cabaret started happening, you would just sit next to the puppet, and then you would just ignore the puppeteer, and then the puppet would be interviewed on television and by the host. I don't know if you know Madam. She was a big puppet in the 70s. She actually had her own spin-off television show, I think, with like B. Arthur. But she was just a sassy old lady puppet and a lounge singer. And, you know, you'd see the puppeteer sitting on the piano with her or sitting next to the piano, but it was really just about her. And so to open a place like a piano bar in Andersonville, you could then also incorporate the puppetry and other arts.
That's pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah. Dang. What would you like to see differently in the Chicago entertainment scene? We're talking about theaters kind of shutting down or going away with the pandemic and all that. 5-10 years down the line, what would you really like to see, and what do you think was going to bridge that gap to put Chicago back on that scene again?
I love the idea. I'm so glad you asked. This is so funny. I love that you asked this question. I've been thinking when like this cabaret sort of the Great American Songbook and I guess Prohibition, but house parties. People used to go into people's homes and do shows. And not just like singing. You'd put on a whole show. You would do a reading of Shakespeare in someone's living room. And I think we could go back to that intimacy. And I almost feel like people need that more than ever. Is
like
that
a very DIY thing?
Sort of, yeah. But I mean, like, sure, you could bring in a small stage with lights, and you can on Amazon get a light rack with all sorts of lights and things. Soup's cheap, and you could just pack that up in the car, show up with your friends, and put on a show in someone's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that intimate shared experience is sort of what's missing right now in the scene, and I think to kind of go back to that would be really awesome. Yeah,
it's interesting because you think you always got to go out to a theater, support a local theater, but sometimes the theater can be right in your own living room.
Exactly.
We've seen some people do it. We've had a couple people on the show that do their own stand-up comedy nights in their Chicago apartments.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
pop-up shows are happening.
I love that idea. Yeah. I mean, we clear it with your neighbors first.
With your neighbors.
But yeah. But I kind of thought, if and it wouldn't be, I think it's a very lucrative, if you could get all your ducks in a row, because depending on what show you wanted, let's say you build like a package of like, these are our 10 shows and this is our cast or whatever. And you could have a rotating cast because, let's say someone's doing another show at the time. And so you bring in someone else to cover. So you just have this sort of like pool of talent that knows these 10 shows. And then you're like, okay. And then we'll also bring, a Romeo and Juliet to your house. And then we're going to have like a special, love cocktail that we also bring along. You know what I mean? It could become an experience.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or you could even include the people in the show. You could be like, okay, in these 2 bit parts, people could like bid on them beforehand or whatever. Like, oh yeah, the host is like, oh yeah, I'm going to have 10 people over and I think these 2 people would really like to do it, or we'd like to put them on the spot because it's their birthday. You could give them one of the scripts in advance and they could join the show. That's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I don't know, maybe it's chaos. Maybe it's the release form would be pages and pages. But
never know until you try, man.
Yeah. Scotty's Place, and then Scotty's Place on tour.
Boom.
Yeah.
Now, with your past as a singer, have you ever had any roles that really stuck out to you that really meant a lot in the past that kind of warped the character or the performer you are today?
Yes, but not with singing. I did a one-man show. It was like a 70-minute show called Buyer and Seller, and it's sort of based in fact. So Barbra Streisand built her like Malibu estate, her farmhouse and things. It's huge. It's really sort of a compound, but in the basement of the house, she actually has like little stores, like an old-fashioned, like a little thoroughfare with little shops. Like there's a doll shop and an ice cream shop and the clothing store and stuff. And the thing is that it's all filled with her stuff. So she buys, she collects things and then she puts them in her basement. And so a playwright was like, well, wouldn't she want to go shopping in her little stores? And so someone wrote a play about someone who gets the job of being the shopkeeper in all her little shops. And she comes down and she kind of haggles with him and buys her own things. And along the way, she kind of realizes that, oh, he's quick. He's, I've put him through his paces and he can keep up with me. So they start to form maybe a friendship. Is she using him? Like how do you befriend a celebrity of that magnitude? You know what I mean? So there's like trust, but then also like, oh, we're great friends. And then you realize, no, wait, maybe she's just using me. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's so complex. But I played that role, and I think it was like 12 different characters. And the adrenaline rush of being able to start at the very beginning as sort of the storyteller, and then I go in and I play all the characters, including Barbara, through the end. When I was done, I was so thrilled. I was like, I could do it again. I can do it one more time. like was just so energizing. And then I got to flex all my character voices and all the manners. I'm a very physical actor, so when I'm like looking for a character, it's like, what is my thing? Like with Imp, I was like, I don't understand what's my and I was like, oh yeah, that's Imp. He always gets these great ideas. You know? Oh, I've got it. Great ideas. And so being able to create all those different characters and play them was just so satisfying. And then I won a local Jeff for the role as well. So
Hey.
it's
That's
like the
awesome.
Chicago Tonys.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Not at Radio City.
Yet.
Yet.
There you go.
Now, is there a role that you've always wanted to play?
Ooh, yes, but I'm not quite there yet. So, and it's so, again, I'm just drawn to the peculiar side characters. Are you familiar with Wicked?
Oh,
The
yeah.
musical? Okay, so one of the professors is a goat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just obsessed with that character. The minute I saw him, I was like, I want to be the goat. How do I get to be the goat?
We all want to be the goat.
I'm going to be the goat. Not a bad idea. So that is a dream role. It's so random, but when Wicked comes through town, I'm like, I'll pay whatever it costs. I want to see that goat.
Yeah.
There was a time when they were preparing Frozen for the stage. I'd gone to the movies to see the original movie with my my younger brother and his wife, my sister-in-law. And we were watching it, and as soon as Olaf comes out, they both look at me, and I just kind of like melt in my chair. I was like, yeah, I'm a little bit Olaf, I guess. And so that was also a dream role for a while. And then I saw it was a puppet. They were also Olaf was going to be a puppet, and it is a puppet. It's a stick puppet, like a trigger puppet. So you kind of pull a trigger to make his mouth move. But I was like watching the puppeteer deal with that puppet the entire show. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that 8 shows a week. That's a lot of work. Same with like Lion King. So cool to watch. But there's sort of like this gag that most everybody in Lion King is basically always physically in torture because of their costume pieces and things that they have to wear to create them. Wow. So it's just like, like underneath like Simba's big head thing is also a neck brace, so that because he's in such pain. Not really, but that's like one of the jokes. It's like, yeah,
that's funny.
So, the goat. If anyone knows the casting for Wicked and they're looking for a goat,
We got the greatest of all time right here.
that's right. I'm ready for
baby.
it, and I do my own makeup and prosthetics. I can do my own prosthetics, so sign me up.
That would be a fun gig. That would be a really cool gig.
I mean, and it's such a hot show right now.
Right.
Man. That would be awesome to be a part of that franchise. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What other accomplishments are you really proud of within your career?
Oh. Let me think. I mean, being a part of the children's television show was huge because we got to talk to the students. Like the young authors would sometimes come to the studio, and that just was so satisfying to see that passion that they'd written this story about, the little kid that was bouncing on his bed and he farted so hard he went to the moon, and Dr. Mr. Park had to get a chopper to go to the moon and bring him back. And I mean, it was just that freedom of expression, and then them seeing their work come to life. It just, I don't know another. I've never felt that satisfied in creating something, especially with like the youth, so that you inspire them to continue to write and create and feed into the future of the arts. Yeah,
Was there ever any story that you kind of stood out to you at all? Do you remember it all?
I mean, farting to the moon is pretty good.
It's a big accomplishment.
That was very good. There was it's funny again, puppets. There was a rhyming rainbow. There was a poem that was written, and so we turned it into my rhyming rainbow, and we talked about like all the different songs, but like you can't rhyme anything with orange, and that was just so cool to be like the kid knew, he's like, but you can't rhyme anything with orange. It's like, yeah, that's right, kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, that's something that we always talk about. It's so important to, especially, you know, as talking to some kids who grew up in Chicago, being affiliated with the arts at such a young age is so important for kids. And I was hoping maybe you can talk about why is that so important? Why is that important to have kids come in, write the shows, be a part of it? You know, tell us, you know, in your own experience, why the people should focus, why people should pay attention and bring their kids to the arts.
That's like twofold. So, one, from like the scientific side of things, when you're younger, much like learning a new language, hearing like ear training and getting that like familiarity with different chord structures and things, you have a basic sort of like window of opportunity. And by the time you get to like kindergarten, this starts to close. And so the younger you are that you get that sort of exposure to it, and it doesn't even be like professional training. It's not like you have to like try to find Juilliard for babies or whatever, but like just listening and watching and being like, there's the Chicago Children's Theater, like, take your kids there. They know the kid is going to cry and scream and try to go on stage. But this way they're introduced and exposed to that to begin with. So like from a scientific perspective, it's just really important to like introduce your kids to the arts and music and that sort of, and you know, to instill that sort of respect for the arts and acknowledging that it's there, especially because in so many schools it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So if you have the opportunity to share that with them, that's important just like to make them a developed human being. But also I think as a child, I was always encouraged to play, you know, and I think that's important, that when you're younger and you're told to keep playing, that now when I'm older, I still play. Like that's important to me. Like after a Zoom meeting, I'm like, hey, Alexa, play some crazy music. And then we're dancing and whatever I find around the apartment, I'll just either shake it or, you know what I mean? So I think playing is so important. And if you instill that at a young age, that creativity and then like exploring things that are like outside of what you think are real, then you're so much more open to like accepting other people, meeting new people and being open to understanding what their point of view, but then also like stretching yourself. The creativity of like, if you're going to be a scientist, if you don't have that curiosity, you know what I mean? There's just so much to it that I think the arts are so important to be just a well-rounded person. If you get in younger, you're going to have a fuller experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it really does affect the kids a lot, you know, not to get political, but I remember when the Doge reports came out and they were like, oh, they have like Afghani Sesame Street that we've been funding. I remember going through that whole list and that was the one that stuck out to me where I'm like, but wait, that's like super important. That's like really, really important for kids at a young age to educate themselves through that, you know? I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about what, you know, you were talking about Sesame Street earlier, how much that truly just affects the kids and their mannerisms and the way they view the world. Oh,
man. I think about, what was the episode when the store owner, oh, no, I'm kicking myself for not knowing his name, when he passed away and they didn't shy away from when the actor passed away, and they wrote it into the show so that children could see what that's like and the grieving and the understanding. I think Sesame Street was way ahead of its time in introducing kids to so many things that were like the reality of life. Yeah, they're puppets, and maybe it's easier coming from a puppet than it is a person. But I think just that as an organization, what Sesame Street did is, and still does, although it's again harder to get access to. For me, it was on all the time, and now you have to have a subscription to get it. You know what I mean? I think that's is vital to have, because it helps stretch us, and then it takes the weight off of the family to be like, so this is what death is. It's like, oh, I see. Well, okay, I get it. You get exposed to it in a gentle, very thoughtful way. Yeah.
Do you think children's television has changed throughout the years, and if so, how so? Like,
I mean, it's more. I mean, I don't have children, but what I have seen, most of it has just become filler. I feel, you know what I mean. There are still some shows that offer content. I know, like Bluey is something that was like revolutionary recently that actually introduced sort of hard feelings. My my sister-in-law Lizzie, she teaches elementary school, and she was showing it to her class, and she's like, the next time she's like, we're gonna watch Bluey, and they were like, no, Bluey makes us sad. It's like, you're just feeling something new. The next episode is going to be happy. But you know what I mean? It's great to introduce children in a way to feelings without overwhelming them. So I think I do feel like, and honestly, it's harder to find cartoons. I wake up on Saturdays, I want Saturday morning cartoons. And you almost have to go to YouTube and be like, I'm gonna Google I'm gonna look for that one cartoon I'm looking for, because otherwise streaming just regular Saturday morning cartoons just doesn't exist anymore. And I mean, I know I grew up watching like Ren and Stimpy. You know what I mean? Is that educational? The Chihuahua's eating a soap bar thinking he's in outer space. And you get real close and you see the snot dribbling. I don't know. I guess there's always been filler, but I think it's harder to find the good programming these days.
Have you guys ever seen like cartoons as an adult that you used to watch as like a little kid and just find a completely different message? And has it ever like fucking like mind blown you before?
Ooh.
Animaniacs was like that for me. I went back and rewatched like the new ones now, and I'm like, oh wow, they were really talking about some serious things here.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you're just like, oh, they're just doing it in a happy song. You know?
It's wacky, but no, actually, it was actually some serious stuff that they were managing. Yeah, you're right.
Political commentary as well. They did a lot. Yeah, that's one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm trying to think, what have I gone back to watch?
For me, it was always Arthur.
Arthur,
like,
yeah.
They had like some.
That's.
Like as a kid, you didn't realize the messages that just went over your head, and that you become a teenager, you get a little stoned, and then you're all like, oh, shit.
Like, this is Bob Marley's kid in the theme song. Whoa, man!
Yeah. Life
no
changer.
wonder I like reggae. Every day when you're walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is something to be said that I think kids are smarter than we give them credit for. And I think kids nowadays, to piggyback off your question, from my opinion, I think that kids nowadays might be a little more in tune with their emotions. Where when we were young, like you said, it was all filler. It was SpongeBob. It was Ren and Stimpy. Was it educational? No. Did it make you feel something? Amusement.
Goofy. Yeah.
Right? But it never really gave you these like facts of like, it's okay to not feel okay sometimes. And this is why. This is how the world kind of operates, I think kids nowadays are much, much more in tune than we were growing up.
Like now the workforce has mental health days, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We never had that when I was, younger.
Yeah. They also have access. I remember when the internet was made or released to the public, when Google hadn't been around. I think now it's at their fingertips. So there's just opportunity to be exposed to it as well, which is really exciting. It's also sort of like, oh, watch out. But at the same time, it's great that it's out there as a resource. Yeah.
Right. Now, sometimes we ask our guests, what's your Roman Empire? What's the thing you're usually thinking about randomly throughout the day, most throughout the day?
Oh.
What's your Roman Empire?
My Roman Empire. Like the one that's just usually on my mind?
Yeah, the things that's on your mind, some rabbit holes you like to crawl down.
Besides Oreos?
That's a great one.
Always thinking about Oreos.
There you go.
What am I thinking about? What's on my mind? Usually when I'm alone with my thoughts, I'm singing. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm always making up songs, going around, and like singing about things. Like when I'm scrambling an egg, it's a musical. So there's not a lot of space and time for me to be like, oh, I wonder this or that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm typically just like, my life is a musical most of the time. Like I've been caught dancing down the street before. Or someone tapping me on the shoulder while I'm on the train going, you have a nice voice. And I was like, oh, I was singing? I didn't even know I was singing.
But thank you.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm always thinking music. I always thought maybe I should try to write a musical. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like there's just so much that goes into it. Not just to say like financially putting that together, but it's such a commitment. But there's always been sort of an inkling of like, maybe if I found the right story, and like something that fits my goofy, impish self to, you know what I mean? That would, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe House of Svengoolie, the musical. Maybe we'll get around to that.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Marbles, a day in the life of Marbles, the musical.
I'd pay to see that. You know, and I think that's such a cool thing about the Svengoolie show is that music has always been such a big part of it. And I imagine once you came across their desk, they're like, this is the guy right here.
Well, and Sarah too. Gwen Gooley writes. She's the one that writes the majority of our stuff. It's incredible. You just tell her the movie and she's like, I know exactly where to go with this. And the next thing you know, she's written like the best 80s bop and we're all singing it. And it's like, you don't even know. You're like, oh, wait, that's not even a real song. That's just something Sarah came up with. Wow. So, yeah, she's genius with music and a melody. But, yeah, now it's almost like we'll sit down. They'll be like, okay, so now we're going to, do, I don't know, Blair Witch. Who's writing the song? Who's going to write the song for Blair Witch? And I was like, oh, I will. So I wrote a rap that I sang with marbles. Nice. So now it's almost become every episode is there's a song that's involved. And that's why I was like, Sarah, next time you're here, let's find a piano bar. The music belongs to the show. It'd give us an opportunity to like get in touch with some of the fans on our kind of style with the singing and the cabaret stuff. I don't know.
It's a great way to branch out,
Sure.
I mean, especially
adds layers.
Mm-hmm. And you're drawing more people back to the audience of Svengoolie. We were talking earlier of, people out here like really grew up with them and then, maybe stopped watching after so many years. And now with you guys, it's such a resurgence of it. And now you're bringing a whole new flock of people into it. People who maybe didn't grow up here. Maybe now you have the next generation who's going to be a part of the Svengoolie universe,
Yeah, right. And I think we've been hitting 1 million plus viewers.
Wow.
Yeah, this year
awesome,
already. Yeah,
dude.
so
that's incredible.
Don't quote me, but I think that's the last I heard is that we're really cooking, which is great. Really appreciate the fan base continuing with us and like taking the risk of like, what are these new characters going to bring? And in a way, I'm really up until the last couple of months, I feel like we've still been trying to find our footing. But these last few episodes that we've filmed, but previously they would just air them. We would make the content and then we'd watch them when they happened. I'd have like little viewing parties actually. Yeah. But they now give us the rough cut to look at, so we can like pick up on like, oh, what's this sound cue? Because our editing team will throw in like visuals and things. It's like, oh no, that takes away from the joke, or oh, actually, we could use more gas here. You know what I mean, like that. And so to be able to watch it, like I'm having trouble sometimes even giving notes because it's really gelling. Like all of our voices are coming in so clearly now and the jokes are really landing and the timing feels really good. I think all of us, including not just the three of us, but I think the entire production team is really in sync right now. So
is Doug Graves still a part of the music scene on the show?
He still is. Yeah. Wow. But not with us, but he still comes in and he plays with Rich. For sure.
Doug Graves, what a legend.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah. It's fun. Again, he'll come in and you're like, oh, it's him. I don't know. There's still a little bit of a celebrity sort of, wow,
Oh, yeah.
Were you really starstruck to see any of the puppets that were on the show? Like when you saw Tombstone or, when his coffin is talking to you?
Yeah. Bonnie, the coffin, is impressive. The way that he can move his eyes and the mouth and the mechanics on the inside. Actually, one of the things is that I've been inside the coffin now for 3 different bits, and Sarah has not. And sort of the running joke now, because she always says something about it. But one of the running jokes is that, she's like, oh, they always let Imp go in the coffin. But it is so fancy in there. Ooh. I mean, it's like lined with this beautiful, like soft purple fabric. And then the mechanism for body on the inside, these slats that you wiggle and move, so smart, so incredible. I haven't touched them. That's something that Jim Roach does. And getting to meet Kerwin was pretty great. We weren't allowed to get near Kerwin because Kerwin was very fragile. They'd had Kerwin for a very long time, and Kerwin wasn't looking so hot. So they were like, be very, very careful with Kerwin. So even like sitting at the table where his rock was, they were like, don't touch the rock. And it was like, he's just sitting on the rock, and the rock is here. There's a lot. I'm surprised Kerwin doesn't have a bodyguard.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's...
And the set of the Svengoolie's dungeon set is so cool, and I think one of the coolest parts is that again he gave so much love to his fans. There's so many people that send him dummies, little coffins, minifigures. Do you have a favorite piece that's on the Svengoolie set?
Ooh.
Because there's a lot of them.
Ooh, am I allowed to say? What's wild is that I feel like every time I'm there, it's like half of the stuff is new. I mean, all of a
Really?
sudden there's a chicken nugget that looks a little bit like Sven's head that's been like kind of Mod Podged and then spray painted, and it looks a little bit like him, and now it's on the set. And then next time you go, the chicken nugget is gone. It changes a lot. There's just so much. I don't even know where the vault of gifts are. I don't even, we have some cages with like props and stuff, but I don't exactly know where all the. He actually just recently took one of the walls, and any of like the prints that he's received, they've now put them on the wall. So there's an entire wall now that the audience can't see. That's just along the back there. That's just full of incredible artwork that's been gifted to Sven. I said, well, my favorite piece, and it freaks everybody else out. And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna use it, although I think people were hesitant to let me use it. Is a full size dummy replica of Sven Gudli.
Whoa.
Yeah, the hair, the full suit, even the rare. There's how he wears that skeleton pin. That thing is like super rare. I think it was a Hallmark release a long time ago. You can't find it.
Yeah.
And whoever gifted him that included that rare skeleton pin.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna try to write it into. Actually, I've sort of already drafted it. It's ready to go. It's gonna show up in one of the upcoming episodes for sure.
That's
yeah.
awesome. The origins of the pin. That's
But
cool.
it's funny. They keep it in one of the cages, and it's like draped in this black sheet. So and it's got the top hat on top. So it's Sven, and it's just sitting like all here. It's like, no wonder you guys don't like it. You're making it creepy. Just have it sit in the studio with us.
Bring it to
It's
life.
a great idea. So that's I'll be playing with the dummy next time for sure. Yeah.
Hey, don't talk about Rich that way.
Whoa. Why I oughta.
To the moon. Would it be too much to ask for us to improvise a 5-second scene where you throw a rubber chicken at me?
I think it's a great idea.
bring it on.
Do you want this chicken or do you want the other chicken?
We got options.
I want.
You want this chicken?
this
This
chicken
one.
is
This is
more-
the one. Okay. All right. We're gonna launch.
I'm gonna sit over there next to you, and then just
Camera's good. We're good on cam.
camera is good. Yeah, it's on this camera.
Don't look at me like that.
Now let's see if we're both in frame.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now you're talking.
Jay, you can come in a little more.
Oh,
A little more.
Now you want me to whomp you with this thing, or are you
You
gonna
whomp.
make a run for it?
He
I'm
gives you
gonna-
full consent.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. all right. All right.
I
Cool.
can sell it, bro.
Yeah. Look at these. Look at that. It's Frankenstein.
It is very much
Oh
Frankenstein.
man, that's some good stuff. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Such a beautiful film.
This,
Okay.
All
so
right.
what,
Let's make with the chicky.
What's our where we going with this? Where we starting?
Give
What
us
are you
a-
thinking?
give
give
us
us
a
a
thing.
prompt. Give
I'm
us a
gonna-
place. Who are our relationship? Who are we?
Okay. You're Scott.
Oh, this is
You're-
so complex.
You're a singer. You're a singer. You're destined for greatness in the world.
Ooh, I feel it. Yeah.
Jay's coming on to you because he's a hitman for the producer of the next big show that you want to do, and he's really not a big fan of rubber chickens or chickens in general, and you really need to lay down the pipe work. Well, that was weird. You really need to lay down the chicken work, and smack some sense into him, and end on a climactic song.
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Jay, you're a henchman,
Okay.
evil henchman.
I heard you be coming.
yes, I had to find you.
What do you think you're going to accomplish here?
You don't want to know.
Oh,
If
no,
I
I-
told you, I had to.
Judging from your creepy curling hands, I have a very good idea that you're coming for my rubber chicken.
I must have the rubber chicken.
You're never gonna touch my chicken.
What?
That's right.
I came all the way from. What?
You think you're loaded?
What? Whoa.
That's right.
Come down there, buddy.
I'm not clucking around
Listen
here.
you.
You better go tell your boss that I'm gonna be a star of this film, and there's something you
not-
can do.
I'm not going
Don't
back
make
empty-handed.
Don't make me use this.
Oh, no.
You're never gonna make it in Berwyn, kid.
Berwyn.
That was awesome.
Bravo!
Nicely done.
Bravo!
But then there's a song. The henchman is now out of the way. I'm ready to go.
Bravo!
That's right.
I'm going to get hit with a rubber chicken from somebody from Sven Gudli.
There you go. Yeah.
I think my dream just came true.
We don't get to throw as many rubber chickens as you'd think. Yeah, yeah. Well, because we're usually, we're in makeup and we're like doing our thing, and then so we get either people from the studio or sometimes special guests get to come in and throw chickens at Rich. So
That would be epic.
It's funny because like when I first was working on the Green Screen Adventures, they did let us come in and throw some chickens.
Hell
So
yeah,
it's like it's like full circle. It's wild. Yeah.
Do people throw chickens at you in real life when you're walking down the street?
Can I tell you? I'm hoping it's the makeup that throws people. I will be in the studio after a shoot, out of makeup. I'm in my street clothes. I'm coming out, and someone will be coming in and they go, can I help you? Who are you? I'm like, I'm Imp. I'm on this. I'm House's Finger. I mean, Gwen, boom, immediately. I mean, she can't go to a Whole Foods without someone being like, I love Gwen Cooley. Same with Nasty. But for me, it's been pretty low key, except for every once in a while. I was at a birthday party and I was telling a story of some kind, and someone behind me turned and goes, I know that voice. You're Imp on Svengoolie. And I was like, yeah, that's me. So that was cool to be recognized. And then sometimes you forget we have, there's the Sven merch, and I'm a sucker for merch anytime. I have a lot of the sweaters and things, which I really recommend. They're great quality and they're really nice. But sometimes I'll be walking down the street or something and someone's like, oh, I knew it. You're Imp. I knew it. So that's pretty great. But typically, I can kind of fly under the radar, even in the studio.
Oh shit!
I know. Well, not like in the dungeon, but when like I'm walking to get a cup of coffee or something, I don't think people know it's me, which is kind of nice.
Do you have like any like weird fan interaction stories at all?
Weird fan.
Or just anyone that sticks out, I guess.
I mean, I've gotten some really cool fan art. It's interesting how dark they draw Imp. He's usually like sort of like in a Spider-Man pose on the floor, something his wings are huge and Marbles is like hovering by him and things like that. Or it's like he's always slightly sinister, which is I think a really cool take on the character because he's so much of a like the clown, you know what I mean? So to think that to go back into that like dark demon sort of style is really great. I like that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Let's put a call out there too for all the listeners out there. Send Imp some love. Send Imp some artwork. That's definitely a part of the show that I think you guys really need to keep pushing forward. It's such an awesome part of the show. The segment where they show the kids' drawings and all the artwork. Send some Imp some love, baby. Come on.
It is so flattering. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us, and we hold it dear. I know Gwen. I keep mine in my office. I keep it behind me. I frame the stuff, and then I know Gwen does the same. So
Nice.
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. So send it our way.
Yeah.
Nothing's too big.
Well, we're getting to just about that time to kind of wrap up the show here. Was there anything else that you wanted to convey to our listeners, to all the people listening out there at home?
No, I mean, really just a thank you for supporting the show and the changes that have come and just kind of growing with us and accepting what we're bringing and encouraging us. And a shout out to Sven for welcoming us to the Svenverse so generously. And, again, so much of my career has just been following what I love and listening to my instincts and that leading me to where I am supposed to be. So if you feel that, if you have that little voice that says you should do this thing or maybe go here, do this, follow it because that's super important. Don't squelch that. Don't silence it because that could lead to something really big.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
And it sounds like you've been listening to your intuition. It's really worked out for you.
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, I mean I'm also highly caffeinated, so I think my intuitions are also at full speed most of the time. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, Scott, we wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future, pal. Sincerely, we've been a fan of yours for quite some time, and I just want to say congratulations on the new job. You guys are really, really tearing it up. You're doing a wonderful job, the entire cast, you especially, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us on this show, and thank you for enlightening us and giving the kids at home a positive role model to live by. And I think all the words that you said here are really encouraging and very inspiring, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Well, I appreciate you having me. This is an incredible platform, and I'm honored to be here. So thanks. Keep watching the show, and thank you for your support.
We appreciate it. And for those who don't know, Svengoolie, House of Svengoolie, Saturday nights on MeTV, correct?
That's right.
Perfect. So you guys heard it here. Go Saturday night, Me TV. Check them on out. Svengoolie, House of Svengoolie. Show some love to my buddy Imp here. And yeah. But sincerely, Scott, thank you again, man. Can it be too much to ask? Can you throw these rubber chickens at us?
Oh,
before
sure.
we
Let me get the
close out
fried one.
show?
Let me get the fried. Here, we'll have Marbles throw the other one too. I'll throw one and then Marbles will throw one. Who wants the big one? I'm gonna.
Oh, lay it on me.
I'm gonna lob. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, Marbs, you're up. You're up, Marbs. Oh yeah, here he comes.
Oh boy.
I know. Oh, I don't know what his aim is gonna be like. Oh, but he's really excited. He's really excited. Here we go.
There, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah. Good job. Good job, Marbles. You're such a good boy. Such a good thing.
A good thing.
Good thing. You're a good thing. Yeah, he
good thing,
rocks.
He's a good boy. Well, thank you and Marbles for joining us. Sincerely, we really do appreciate it a lot. And again, we're huge fans. We'll be checking you out this Saturday night.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
man.
So for all of you guys out there listening, we appreciate you joining us on the show. If you enjoyed the show, hit like, hit subscribe, check out some of our other videos as well. Share this video with a friend, share it with your girlfriend, share it with your wife. Just don't share it in the same group message. I think at the end of every show, we always send everybody out with a little bit of inspiration. And I think Scott said it right there. You know, if you have this little demon in the back of your mind saying you should go do something because you know it's going to be right for you, go do it.
Fucking do it.
Go do it. Just go do it. Get a start in it. You might fail. You might fall flat on your face, but that is a learning experience. It's a great thing.
And don't wait for motivation. That shit doesn't exist. You got to be disciplined and actually do it.
That's
Even
right.
if you don't like to do it.
Set a
Get up
timer.
and do it.
Set a timer on your phone. Commit a couple hours to make it happen. But remember, you can be the light at the end of the tunnel. So with that, we wish you all nothing but the best of luck in the future, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Again, we're here every Wednesday night live from Q4 Radio. Check us out, and love, peace, and chicken grease. Let's get the chicken in here for one last shot.
Little chicken. We got Marbles over there.
All right.
Yeah. Peace out, everyone.
Peace out, everybody. You guys have a great night. Bye.